cost you 55k, yes. Whereas if it were to do tanks, it would have cost you 1.1 million shillings.
What's the truth about plants that ati mtu akisikia tu uko nayo? This, as in, when the aroma breaks, ati zako zimeiva, they come for it in the farm.
You know, unapata kuku umenunua, ukifanya hivi, your two fingers cannot fit in between the pelvic bones.
If it doesn't fit,
it's not laying.
Unaekelea juu, si?
Unaekelea, si kuingiza ndani, unaekelea tu juu. Okay? Unaekelea juu tu.
One of the most requested topics zenye mumekuwa mkitaka tuongelea on this platform ni agribusiness. Ladies and gentlemen,
who say that farming is the only place where you can itaacha tu igrow yenyewe?
Ulisikia wapi? Kuna hiyo crop umekuwa ukiamini sasa hiyo ndio inaleta do, hiyo ndio inatoa watu block.
Let me tell you, that's why mama mbogas don't like me a lot. We will talk about the dragon fruit if you have time.
I believe that by the end of this episode, you will agree with our choice of guest for this conversation.
You have to be involved. That's why I say ukulima sio ushamba.
Caleb Karuga is Mr. Good Vibes, and leo lazima utapata all that information umekuwa ukitafuta as far as agribusiness is concerned. Some people will not be interested in the conversation of farming because they don't have land.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But you have a story to tell.
Yes. I ran like a dog around 6-7 p.m. in shorts, sandals, and a vest.
We will take a deep dive in all your areas of interest, from poultry farming.
And then you're buying this chicken at a premium. Ukiangalia, oh, there's something you've said and I must caution people.
The history of scamming in the agriculture business.
This is where I've gone wrong twice. You think I learned the first time. Something told me, wewe, hebu nusa hiyo sukuma wiki. Walikuwa naimba uninyunyizia maji.
I'm your host Dr. Kingori, and here's another reason to stay subscribed to our channel. Kama hauja subscribe, now's a good time to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications bell. Na usisahau kutugongea hapo, ka like, mazena ushare, ndio at least the good vibes reach as many people as possible. First of all, thank you for accepting. This was like a coalition agreement, negotiating with you from your previous bad experiences. Yeah. I hope siku moja utanipea ruhusa to defend your case because I understand you. But leo, strictly, our audience has been requesting across our multiple platforms, agribusiness.
Okay.
And I think I have to also bring our audience to the fact that I'm going to introduce them to the fact that you are not willing to come on because you want other people to also get a chance, which I respect sana. But for you sharing your moment hapa, kwanza it would have pained me kama ungekubali kukuja, because some of the facts you are spitting about farming, mimi mwenyewe nikajambia it would be very selfish of me not to learn. Kwanza kuna idea nilikuwa nimeambiwa ati kuna tomato. There's a certain tomato yenye ukipanda eka moja ni 4 million per harvest.
I have to laugh because, oh, so you thought God will bless you from your head tomatoes.
Nice. Nice. So, nice one. So apparently at least tomato, at one nini, 1 acre can take sijui, I think that mathematics was,
how many heads sijui,
ati one stamp ukipandisha inatoa sijui 4 kgs na yes, it was coming to 4 million, almost sure bet. Why did you laugh at that math?
I laughed at that math because, and thank you for having me here, I really appreciate. I laughed at that math because when I was embracing agriculture as a business back in 2010, 2011, same numbers were being thrown at people. If you do either capsicums, the bell pepper, hoho, or a particular variety of tomatoes, will give you 4 or 5 kgs. So they do some quick math with you. If you had a greenhouse of 20 meters by 8 meters by what, you'll have a plant population of X. So if you have all these tomatoes and none of them die, they never talk about that, you will harvest X number of kgs. Na nyanya kilo moja saidi pesa ngapi? Oftentimes, if you query the person hyping these tomato varieties, they are seed propagators. They sell seeds to farmers. That's their core business. The mama mboga down the road doesn't care what variety you brought them. Okay, they do because they want one that has a slightly longer shelf life. But they're really not into how many kgs does this one plant of tomato give you. They don't care about that. They just want tomatoes that shelf life. So don't be quick to buy into the hype that one tomato plant will give you 5-10 kgs. If it gives you 100, even better. But that's not what you should dwell on. You should dwell on, am I going to have a market? Is there a demand for this? And in the event there's no market for it, what's my plan B? Am I going to get into value addition? How am I going to process? Because there will be a glut. We live in an information age where, and it's a curse, it's like a poison chalice. You have access to information, too much information, that so many people, again, have the same information that you have and I have. Okay?
Yes, yes.
So if 1,000 of us watch this YouTube clip talking about these tomatoes, we all want to get into the same. We all want to make money. The me too, I can too, me too, I can do it. So if 1,000 of us go do those tomatoes, and then we end up with a glut, we didn't think of a plan B. Because one YouTube clip inspired us to get into tomato farming. But that YouTube clip or video never told us how to produce with a market in mind. Kuanzia sokoni kabla tupande. No one told us that. They just hyped how many kilos you're going to get per plant. That was the hype.
I produced with a market in mind.
Okay.
First, I saw a friend of mine, and he would not lie to me, him, as in, I say that about very few people. So he leases land in Machakos, I believe, somewhere called Masi.
Okay.
He plants watermelon before the watermelon craze.
Okay.
He plants watermelon, harvests 340K. Like, as in, his net profit was 340K. I was like, wow, that's interesting. So now I do research. Nikambiwa sasa watermelons market sasa. Kenyans are doing healthy living now. So I do watermelon on 1.5 acres, and then I mix with butternut on the advice of an agricultural professional.
Okay.
And now the agriculture professional tells me, hey, now the watermelon needs the sun, like not much water, the sun. Trust me, we waited for the rain, hiyo kidogo ya kuongeza, and I planted in April and in July. When I called someone, first of all, I market in mind. Kambua, marikiti. I think around that time, I could sell for 18 shillings per kilo. Then I called someone, Kambua, this is a supply of a market. And they were like, hey, how much per kilo? And they were like, sahi hata ni 5 shillings per kilo. And mali zilikuwa nikikumbuka transportation. I would rather send wale watu walikuwa nalima, they eat them hapo kwa shamba. Eventually someone comes and offers 1,000 bob. So
for the entire farm?
For the entire farm. 1,000 bob. The entire farm, watermelons, 1,000 bob. Guess how much I had spent?
Like
400,000.
400,000?
Yes. I was a phone farmer. That project cost me 400K. So now, I'm like, did I get into the market at the wrong time? Because for people to have the experience of 18 shillings per kilo, and then on average, hata kama tulikuwa tumeungua kidogo, they were not as big as I had hoped. On this other end, farmers offering, the buyers offering 5 shillings per kilo. Were they taking advantage because I have the watermelon? Because there is something here, umekuja umepack lori yako ya watermelon hapo, alafu sasa anajua kuna mali utaenda nazo. Is it the market taking advantage? Are people not eating enough?
It's actually, you've raised like 3-4 points. I can answer it in 4 ways.
Yes.
So that people get where we are coming from.
Yes.
So first thing, you went to farm on the advice of someone, your friend whom you trust, and that's good. Did you go to another farmer?
No.
Therein lies a problem. Because this is what I call, and I did a TikTok video, advice ya beste yangu. I went into farming because kuna beste yangu. Then some people go, kuna beste ya beste yangu. Alienda kulima nyanya, akachomoka na FH, sijui na pickup.
Yes.
Whereas such success stories exist, we shouldn't make an investment decision based on the success of someone else.
Okay.
Providence. ilifanyika, yaliangukia hiyo season. So ukipata na yeye, obviously he's going to tell you how good watermelon farming is. Aisifie mvua imemnyea. So at that point, yes, it was making business sense. Now, what was his land size? I'm sure he didn't do 1.5 acres. He had more. Mm-hmm. You had 1.5 acres. I don't think he had 1.5 acres to make 400K. He had bigger piece of land. So what's the volume? What volumes are you doing? Because if you had, say, 50 acres, and even if they were to buy at 5 shillings a kilo, you still make some bit of money. And that's why I keep saying farming sometimes is a game of numbers.
Please allow me a few seconds of your time to share a word from our partners who help us make this possible, like Quality Good Vibes. And not only that, they also have value they would wish to offer you. You're looking for a piece of land, mahali karibu na Nairobi na bei poa, and you want to deal with a reputable company. Allow me to introduce you to Pet Mall Shelters Limited. Pet Mall Shelters Limited were located in Kikuyu, and they have very, very strategically placed plots that are 50 by 100. You have a budget between 750,000 and 2.2 million. Wako na project ya Nawiri Phase 9. Zuri Phase 1 has been sold out. Zuri Phase 2 that I've been telling you about recently has also been sold out. Na wako na Prosperity Estate pia. Hiyo kwanza imeshika tama. The plots are strategically placed karibu na stima na maji, so technically this buy and build zile amenities unahitaji for both residential and commercial uko sorted. Pet Mall Shelters Limited is an award-winning land selling company. This falls within your alley, your budget, 750,000 to 2.2 million. I highly encourage you to check out the offers that Pet Mall Shelters Limited. The contact details ni hizi tumeweka hapa kwa screen. Game of numbers.
Yes. Mm-hmm. There's something called opportunity cost. If all of us, we are in the planting season actually, some of us have started planting. We have, say, 3 months for our watermelons to be ready. We are both going to wait for 3 months for them to be ready, right? So let's say we are farming in the same area, Uko Masi. We drive, say, 1 hour, 2 hours to get to Masi and back. Fuel is more or less the same. So whether you're driving to go see your 1 acre piece of land, and I'm driving to go see my 50 acre piece of land, the cost is the same of fuel. Time is the same. Mm-hmm. Of course, I have higher costs, definitely. But I'm saying opportunity cost. How long did it take you to achieve that? So if that guy made 400 Gs, that 400K was occasioned by what? It's the volumes he had. Per se, not even because of the market that it went very well. Probably he had done it before. He had a network of good buyers. But when it came to you, they probably smelt or sensed fear, or this is the first time this guy is doing watermelon farming. What would he do? What would he know? And then they tell you, zimekuwa mingi sokoni. That's always a trick that brokers use.
Akianani, that statement almost hits the same.
Zimekuwa mingi sana saa hii, sijui hata watu wa Baringo wamepanda watermelon na watu wa Loitoktok, so saa hii ziko mingi sokoni.
Kwani ni wewe nilipigia?
That's what they will tell you. Yes. 13 years in farming, there's a lot I've heard. And I've seen and I've smelt around this sector. It's a very interesting sector. You got to understand it.
Yes.
So they tell you that wanakuzia woga. Because, this is a perishable good. And it's your first time. They can smell a newbie a mile away. Mm. So they will offer you, they'll buy your watermelons for a song because you have no other alternative. Unauza na nivo wamenini. So, yes, you burnt your fingers the first time. But what lessons did you pick from that? All right? Yes, ulianzia sokoni. Yes, soko ilikuambia tunataka watermelon zako. But ni soko ngapi zilikuambia? Was it one market? Because this one broker is probably the only guy you had, this buyer. I would rather have 5. Who atanulia 19 shillings, who 15 shillings, now you shilingi 10. Worst case scenario, hata 12 bob nitachukua. So I have alternatives, all right? As opposed to you have farmed because this one guy promised you is going to buy all your watermelon. It's like where I was farming, my uncle next door, and I joined kidogo partly, walikuwa nafanya catfish farming. This lady lied to them that she has an export market of catfish. Guess where? Congo. I mean, of all places. I'm not saying Congo is a bad country, but you are exporting catfish to Congo. Anyway, so this person, all they were doing was to sell the catfish seeds. I mean, the fingerlings and the feeds. So what they would do is reduce the protein content in the feeds. Ndio samaki wako wakae for a whole year, you are still buying feeds from them. But they promised they are going to buy the catfish from you. So you don't have a secondary, tertiary market. They are the only source of market. If they don't pick your call, you're doomed. So every day they tell you you're not feeding your fish properly. That's why they're not growing. Or sijui the temperature, they send an expert. Or sijui found sijui there was algae, sijui there was what. There's always something that you're not doing right for you to keep buying feeds from them. Anytime you're in an outgrower system, and sorry, I'm getting the Holy Spirit on me.
No, it goes out.
Anytime you find yourself in an outgrower scheme, an outgrower system, and you don't have an exit clause, you don't have other markets that you can sell, you're locked in. So this person supplies to you the seed, supplies to you the feeds. Then they tell you, we're even going to send our agronomist to come and check on you, which you're paying for at the end of the day. So, start kuharibia tu kazi, but there are things I see, I say, this is wrong. This is wrong. Someone supplies to you the chicks, supplies to you the feeds. And then they promise you they're going to buy feeds from the chicken from you. Muliandikiana wapi, ulisikia wapi? After the chicken have matured, they will not come. They may come, and some do come, but not all of them will come. So this person, they wanted a market for their day-old chicks and a market for their feeds. Akupeleka vizuri for 6-7 months, then there's always
Atafute mwingine.
Atafuta mtu mwingine.
Because if the business of selling the chicken was so good, they would have grown the chicken themselves.
Yes. So back to your watermelons. It's not that the business there was anything wrong with the business. No. It was just your first time. You got banned because I'm sure if you made it, you'd be telling me how watermelons are very good. Okay?
100%, yes.
Exactly. So that bad experience, I learned from this. I've burned my fingers, and sometimes I couldn't burn my fingers because for some reason there was a glut in the market. I wasn't aware of that. There was drought. All these things that will come. And that's why I say have a backup of a backup of a backup. And that's why for me, I get into trouble when I say, as Kenyans, Kenyan farmers, smallholder farmers, we have not yet gotten to the point of specialization. You cannot tell me to specialize on cabbage farming on my 2-acre piece of land. You know why? Mm-hmm. In the event that disease comes and wipes out my entire 5 acre of cabbage, what backup do I have? I would rather subdivide my 5 acres. 1 acre cabbage, 1 acre sukuma wiki, 1 acre spinach, 1 acre managu. I have 5 alternatives. There's no way all of them will going to fail unless wewe kuna kitu nafanya ukora huko.
Do you know my projections? I think for me to burn myself to 400k, my projections were as in if ati the brokers, kwanza niliambiwa wanakujianga kwa shamba. Ati if I sell in the worst case scenario, I'll make 1.8 million. Imagine.
Even as we've made such mathematics, when we were doing quail farming, I mean, because me on a Range Rover Velar, I had seen I'm buying this one.
Ulishiko kwa quail farming?
Where? We were the pioneers, okay, not pioneers, but we were like the 2nd or 3rd tier of people who got into quail farming. And let me address something now that nyinyi watu wa media. Now I can say that nyinyi watu wa media like I was not there. You know, by purpose or by accident, media tends to authenticate or put a stamp of approval on a pyramid scheme. Overtly or covertly. Let me explain. Just because someone has seen it on X TV station, I won't name TV stations, niliona kwa TV, then that journalist must have taken time to do the research.
Yeah.
So the back of the viewer, the back of the mind, they're like, hey, it was on TV.
They've done the research.
Research. Then this is legit. Now, media houses do not empower their journalists for them to specialize on different fields. So leo umekava politics, kesho uko shambani, the other day sijui unafanya mambo ya IT, stories are IT. I would want to see a journalist whose area of specialization is agriculture. You understand all the bills in parliament, you understand the acts of that are there about agriculture, you understand the weather, you understand everything. So that when you go and you're covering a story, and the farmer there is hyping what they are selling, you'll be like, this can't go on air because this is all hype. So I saw the story about quail farming on TV, on different TV stations, and I was a journalist then. So what did I do? It kind of makes sense. When you do the number, when you crunch the numbers. But what I didn't know then, and now I know, and I tell everybody who cares to listen to me, listen and write. Whoever is writing notes, write this. Do not do not rear any animal if there's no consuming culture of the same. Let me repeat. Don't rear any animal or plant any crop if there's no consuming culture. Hatuna mtindo ama mila ya kumla yule mnyama or that plant. For example, do we have a culture of consuming rabbit meat? I'll wait. Do we have a culture of eating snails?
No.
Do we have a strong culture of eating mushrooms? It's growing, no pun intended, but there's no strong culture.
What's the harm in forward thinking? Like you see the Chinese community is growing, unajua where the economy is going, unaanza na nyoka, unaweka.
Beautiful, beautiful. But then, this advice I'm giving is not for beginners. Those of us who've done it for 13 years, we can afford tumeshikilia mbuzi, kuku, ngombe
na nyoka.
Na nyoka kidogo hapa hivi. All right? So we can afford to do that. My problem, and please get me right, people, my problem is advising a young person who got along from their parents, from their uncles, from their circle, to start farming na analima quail farming like I did.
That was your entry?
No, that wasn't mine. It was part of the entry point.
Okay.
So there isn't, and I don't know whether there will be ever, a quail egg or quail meat eating culture. When's the last time you went to a restaurant and there were quail eggs or quail meat?
You raise a very good point. Mulishikiwa wapi?
Do you have time?
Yes, please.
Now, this is the problem. I want to mention companies. I might get into trouble, actually, if I do this. So I will not mention companies. Allow me not to mention companies. They came at me that time, so let me know. That's why I'm a bit jittery with doing interviews. Because shida yangu mimi ni kama the truthful man. Mi ongea tu.
Yeah.
The problem was, when this quail craze was going on, the quails were eating what? Feeds. Chicken feeds, indio? Because there was no formulation for quail feeds, right? Higher. So what happened? The orders for their day-old chicks went down. Because all farmers who are buying the chicks, broilers and the layers, they reduced or they stopped because there's another money maker here, which is maturing faster. And an egg is 50, 100 shillings. So why would I go for this?
A quail egg was 100
shillings. So the 200 bob. Hata 250 watu walikuwa one ka egg ya kwenda kuhatch.
Kale kadogo, sio?
Kale kadogo.
100, 200 bob.
I sold.
At a time when a chicken egg was around 6 bob.
Yes. And you know why? Because we were told by the people who sold to, we were selling producer to producer, not farmer to consumer. Nikuja kwako Kingori niambie vile, hey, hii quails iko nzuri sana, iko na pesa. I can see you're making money because there's already an order. People have come, they have queued at your farm waiting to buy the day-old chicks. All right? So I'm crunching the same numbers you're crunching. So let's say I can only afford 200 birds. Someone else can afford 1,000 or 5,000. Everybody wants to be better than you. Don't forget about that. From your siblings, everybody wants to be better than you. So you've ordered 100 quails, I'll order 1,000. Because if you're selling an egg today at 200 shillings, if I had 1,000 quails and I sold even at 100 bob, how much money am I going to make? So it was producer to producer or breeder to breeder, not breeder to farmer to consumer.
Okay.
So let's go back to the feeds. So they realized, wait, our sales for layers mash, for chick mash is up the roof. But how come no one is buying our chicks? The day-old chicks. How come no one is coming for them? Who moved the cheese? So they realized, our farmers who were restocking, say every month or every couple of weeks, they have stopped restocking, they've gone the quail way. So what do they do? The same media that had been used to spread the good gospel about quail farming and the benefits thereof, or perceived benefits of quail eggs will give you CG, nguvu za kiume and everything, was used to say, this is a pyramid scheme. There were articles. Media was dedicating acres upon acres of their newspapers talk about how quail farming is a pyramid scheme. And it's a fallacy. And these quail eggs cannot cure whatever they were saying is going to cure diabetes. So what was the net effect of that? Those of us who had pending orders for day-old chicks, people cancelled. Because again, the media has said this is a pyramid scheme. But who instigated that? Then everything went back to normal. People went back into chicken farming. Hallelujah.
So quails are still there.
Rarely will you find, because there's no market for it. It was a hype at that particular point. Like I said, we were breeder to breeder. I'm selling to you so that you can also have your breeding flock to sell either fertilized eggs or chicks, day-old chicks. I was not selling to you 500 chicks for you to rear them, then you sell them for meat. No, I'm selling to you so that now you will also start selling chicks. You start hatching chicks.
Then the question now becomes, does this mean that for the person who used to sell the day-old chicks to look for ways to sell propaganda to kill the quail, the new business, right? Because the regular customer has gone to something else. Does this mean that there's a small community, closely knit community, that just does farming, that is very predictable in terms of their consumption, that if they went to something else, they are killing a certain existing industry? Yes,
look at it this way. There were those people who were into it, who started it, could afford to go to China and import very big incubators. So by the time you realize this guy has, say, a 40,000 capacity incubator, will hatch all the quail chicks you can think of. Even if you were to sell a quail chick, that time you were selling a 200 bob, 150 to 200 bob a day old, whereas a day old kienyeji chicken was 100 shillings. It's a 150 to 200 bob. But the guys were already, they had the money to do that. So it was like a small community of breeders who went on TV and talked about how good the benefits of quail eggs. So when people were catching on and people always want to be enticed and see where's the next money, where's the next project in agriculture that I can get into and make money, everybody went there. But now we reached sort of like a plateau, like equilibrium. Everybody has chicks.
Everybody has quail.
Everybody has quail chicks. So we were not from, like I said, from farmer to consumer. We hadn't got there, and I doubt we'll ever get there, because people realized the protein content in this quail egg is the same like in this chicken. So why do I need to buy a quail egg at 100 bob? And at that time, an egg was 10 shillings. What is so special about this quail egg? But we bought the narrative. You see, when I come to you and you're telling me to cure diabetes, sijui has madasho, nguvu za kiume, when you come to buy from me, I'll tell someone the same and they'll tell someone the same.
Yes.
All right? And that's what I'm saying. Before you get into anything, whether it's a crop, we'll talk about the dragon fruit if you have time, or any animal, ask yourself, is there a consuming culture? As a beginner.
Yes.
Now, if you feel you're not risk averse, if you feel that you can take a few risks, go ahead. I didn't say you don't do that. Get my spirit. I'm not saying don't go ahead and try snake farming or whatever farming you want to do.
Yes.
But let it not be your first venture in farming. Let it be you're trying out as you have your backup of a backup of a backup.
Before you tell us about dragon fruit, please tell us about your journey in farming, your entry point. I realize that you have been in farming for just about the same amount of time, how long I've been in comedy. Interesting. 14 years.
Yeah.
So now, tell us about your journey before we ingie kwa dragon fruit, na utushikanishie na story ya leasing of land.
Okay. Now, I got into farming back in 2010 as a journalist because I love eating healthy whenever I can. And never been a fan of broilers, never been a fan of junk. Once never loved junk, but never been a fan.
Yes.
So I started farming because I wanted to produce for myself and my family. Until I started taking some eggs back to the office, and my colleagues who love the kienyeji eggs, they were like, whoa, deep yellow, we love the color, we love the taste. Can we get another tray next week? I'm like, I only have like 5-10 chicken at that particular point. So I wanted to increase my numbers, and long story short, I started buying chicken from all over the country, and that's how all of them died. Because you're buying chicken from different parts of the country. This one has a disease called Gumboro. This one has Newcastle, comes and wipes out your entire flock. This one has, I don't know what disease. So when you put all of them together, because they're from different parts of the country and they have not been vaccinated from source, you bring them in one place. It's a concoction, it's a cocktail of diseases.
Twende pole pole. Do you know, that was my next project. In fact, I was supposed to start in June, target Christmas. Nikisema, 6 months, I was getting chicken, zanini, I was supposed to start with, was it 500 chicken? like I was getting a deal here, collecting hapa na hapa. Okay, you just save me some money, but
I will charge you for this. Listen. And I made this mistake. I don't want you to make that mistake or someone else to make that mistake. So I started with 3 chicken. I'm not trying to be funny. 1 cock and 2 hens. That's not with a feather at least. 1 cock and 2 hens. Then of course, nikaendelea kununua. So since that time, we didn't have many producers of day-old kienyeji chicks. What I did is I called my farm guy. That time he was from Meru. Tafutie kuku huko. I called a guy from Nakuru, from Machakos. Leta 10 na basi. Inakuja overnight na basi. Sijui 5, 20 hivi. So all of them were being sourced from different farms. Okay? Now, if this one, the fecal matter, has Newcastle or Gumboro,
there's something naughty about chicken.
Yes.
Asijui cocks na Gumboro.
Yes. Zikifika tu mahali pamoja, hii kanyange kinyesi ya mwenzake, ama iende kwa chakula, kwanza maji, ile the saliva from the chicken, inakunywa hapa, inakunywa pale, inakunywa pale, the spread of the disease is very fast.
Done.
That's the mistake I did. Because then again, I was buying chicken. Some of them were past their laying age, but I didn't know. Kuku imechapa. Ama some chicken, some hens are not, their pelvic bones haven't opened to like 2 fingers. Haijafunguka. Okay.
All these are facts that chicken farming.
Yes. So there's a way you check. Kama kuku amekoma. The wattle, the comb, you check all those things. You check it's a lot that you check.
Tuambie tu. Si tuko na time. Just tupeleke pole pole. Kuna kuku that is past there.
The hen, if the comb is full and red and bright, sometimes nakwanga imeangalia straight, ama imebend kidogo and it's full and red. That's one of the signs. It's inlay, meaning inataga vizuri. But that's not just the only indicator, because some of them don't even have a big comb. Now, another sign unaangalia ni the sure bet. Most of the sure bets you check is the pelvic bones. Ukinamisha kuku hivi, miguu imeangalia hivi juu, you put 2 fingers on top of the 2 pelvic bones. 2 fingers should fit in between the pelvic bone. Unapata kuku umenunua, ukifanya hivi, your 2 fingers cannot fit in between the pelvic bones.
If it doesn't fit,
it's not laying. It looks mature, looks like a big chicken. Unaambia kuku kona 7-8 months. But ukifanya hivi vidole hivi between the 2 pelvic bones, the 2 fingers cannot fit.
Unaekelea juu si.
Unaekelea si kuingiza ndani, unaekelea tu juu. Okay? Unaekelea juu tu. And chicken farm sounds like it's a bit naughty, but we are teaching people. Focus. So those are one of the small signs that you check. So that's the mistake I made. And then you're buying this chicken at a premium. Ukiangalia, there's something you've said, and I must caution people. Not caution people, but just speak my mind. I am not of the opinion to farm targeting a season.
Allah?
I have done that. Nikalea kuku targeting the Christmas season. There are photos on Facebook and even Twitter. I can provide.
Yes.
Nilifuga kuku wengi sana. I had to hire a pickup and another small car, station wagon. Kengine kaenda Wangige, mimi nilienda mpaka Rongai. Tukaweka pickup. Tulianza Karen, tuko na watu wa Karen hawatufeel, wataka zile imechinjwa ile.
Anataka KFC.
Tukaenda mpaka ni
anataka kuku iko na kichwa.
Exactly. Now, the danger of targeting a season is 1,000 of you are targeting the same season. You're breeding chicken with Christmas in mind. Ati watu kulanga kuku sana Christmas. How many people do you think have had the same information?
Nani? Nilikuwa nafanya hesabu mbaya. Unajua nilikuwa najembe in June. I was told that I have suppliers wa kunipatia between 200 chicken na 200 na 250, right? I think the quotation to build keja ya kuku ya 500 had been given a modest quotation ya was it 157k thereabout. So
500 birds.
Kitu kama hiyo. It was very modest. Niliambiwa hivyo. I don't know but nilisema nilipewa tu estimate measure. So nikambo around 157k. Okay. 200 times 500 Allah. In fact, my mathematics was coming to a total of around 250 minus the feeds, monthly feeds. Na December nikajiambia kuku nimebuy so 2. Watu Christmas wananunuanga kuku na 2,000. Just 6 months.
Let me tell you what I realized. Again, allow me to be point blank. Allow me. And if you get offended by my comments, Nimeomba msamaha before.
Sema ukweli.
Naongea tu kwa roho yangu, just trying to help. Oftentimes, who is left behind in Nairobi?
Very few people, yes.
Nani yao? Watu wameenda sherehe, watu wako Mombasa, wako Malindi, wako Kisumu, wako up country. Nani wanakuwa wamebaki Nairobi? Financially. I'll let you do the math. I won't say it.
Watu wa KFC.
No, I will let you do the math. You didn't travel up country because you probably didn't have enough money. Let's be honest.
Ideally,
if you had money, you'd have taken your family for holiday. Am I making sense?
But if your money cannot afford to take you up country,
can it afford to buy you a
chicken?
Do you think it's going to afford you a chicken going for 1,500 bob? Ama KFC, utanunua kuku na 300 ushibe, familia yako imekula. But these are the people you are targeting December.
Okay.
No, sijasema wenye wanabakingi Nairobi ndio hawana pesa. Again, please, maybe by the way,
I get.
What would have to statistics? What would have to understand?
Tuenda nini?
So, and that's what hit me over the years. Been farming for 13 years. It hit me. People eat chicken every day, January to December. Why am I targeting only December? Sifadhali ni kwenye kuku kidogo, 10 January, 10 February, hivyo kidogo across the year, as opposed to targeting 2-3 days of the year. You are hoping.
Twende pole because number one, bado hatujamaliza zile checking na story yako ya investment ya kuku. We've always been under the impression when it comes to food, there's a ready market. There's a very funny story ya Jalas na Gidigidi. Gidigidi alikuwa na 1,000 chicken. Akaambia Jalas, niaje? See, according to legend. She organized me a market, ni uze kuku. Jalas akasema sawa. Jalas akapiga simu moja. Akaambwa, tumeorganize kuku. Nasema, nani Gidigidi has worked so hard to rear 1,000 chicken. At 1,000? Yeah, I think it was 1,000 chicken. So Jalas kupiga simu, akaambiwa sawa, order iko. Can you bring 5,000 chicken tomorrow? Na tunataka hizo daily. Understand? He quit because he could not beat the demand. And then, sasa sisi pedestrians najiuliza, si ungetafuta hata kwa suppliers wenye wamekwama na kuku kama, are you saying that's not true?
It's not true. It's not true.
The demand is not as we imagine.
You know, just because someone said or made a phone call and placed an order does not mean a demand exists. That's what I'm looking for. A monthly, weekly, daily demand exists. What was the demand occasioned by? Probably there were some sportsmen and women who came to Kenya for a friendly match. 500 of them wako Kasarani, and there's a requirement for chicken. So they need 1,000 chicken a day. Of course, you get phone calls.
Special circumstances.
Special circumstances should not make you make a permanent decision. It was just for that moment. There's always a bump in the market or a bump in the demand. It's like a minister one day told me, oh, this year we've gotten a bumper harvest of maize. We're very happy. He talked and I asked him, it was occasioned by what? He kept quiet. Because I want to know, was it because there was more rain? Farmers utilized fertilizer properly. They used the right fertilizer, the right amount, at the right time. Or if let's say we have 1 million acres under maize, that year farmers leased extra 5-10 acres each. So we had 5 million acres under maize. But our usual production per acre remained 10 bags. So you're saying we had a bumper harvest. Brought about by what? This bumper harvest could just be people leased extra pieces of land.
You must be very, very conscious of the patterns.
Exactly.
And you
must be able to do forecasting, market forecasting, and don't take what you see online as the gospel truth or what 2-3 farmers told you. It has to be over a period of time. That's why for me, predicting with farming patterns is more over climate than weather. Because weather is for a short time. Climate is for a longer period of time. So you
So
can
what
tell
is the trend in
what's
this
it,
area?
and not just a trend now. The last 5 years, how has it been? How, when there was a drought in Kenya, did it affect the region market, the Uganda, Tanzania? Who are your competitors? All right. If, let's say, there was no fertilizer, there was fake fertilizer that was brought to the country, what happened? There was less production. So what did the government do? Import. So did people opt to import? From the day there was drought, they have been importing because it's cheaper to import than to produce maize in Kenya. So should you be a producer of maize again, or should you look at the patterns and say, you know what, let's just go to Uganda and bring maize? You must be able to interrogate the seasons.
So the importation is not because we don't have maize locally, but because it does not make sense to buy from farmers with the price you import with, because the farmer has, the production has been very expensive.
The production cost is high, and you can go to Uganda where they get subsidies. Ideally, you should buy from local. I believe, and I strongly say, buy from local farmers first. But then buyers or brokers will say, you know what, if I'm getting a bag at 2,000 shillings across Uganda and Kenya mnanibia 3,000 or 2,500, why would I? It's logic here, all right? So should you become another maize farmer, or should you just import? Or should you get into value addition of this maize? So I'm not saying people shouldn't produce or shouldn't import or shouldn't do whatever. It's if you're getting to agriculture, you must have the patience to interrogate numbers. Today you will give up on watermelon farming. The next season, watermelon farmers will make the most money in the country because you gave up.
So now your lessons in chicken farming. Umetuambia hiyo the finger checking, hiyo ya hapa juu, buying chicken without no vaccination, right?
If you're going to do chicken farming away from where you're living, please get to your chemist, subscribe to some motivational messages, because you'll be buying antidepressants. This is how employees are going to steal from you. They'll be stealing the chicks, especially when you have 100 birds and above, and you're doing it on a rotational basis. They will be stealing chicks from you.
That is given.
Well, you hope you get an angel to work at your farm, but in the event you don't do that, there are chances they will steal from you.
And you can't work alone.
And you can't work alone. Secondly, they will steal feeds from you. Now, that's how my neighbors started chicken farming. They had a source of feed from my farm. Suddenly, everybody had chicken, my age, same age. Because wameiba vifaranga kwa shamba langu, and now they're getting feeds from my farm at half the cost. So you're wondering, how come your chicken look emaciated? There are few, they look emaciated. What happened? Your employees sold these chicks to them and sold the feeds again to them. So you must be able to do your census of your chicken on a weekly basis. I left 500, 3 died, show me the dead ones. Put them in a bucket. If I come after 2 weeks, I want to see 3 skeletons. If I come after a year, I want to see the 3 skeletons of the 3 that died. Tunapima kuku. 1 month inafaa kuwa na hii weight. Mbona hazijafikisha hiyo weight? 3 months, we're supposed to see this. These are the stages we're supposed to, or the milestones we're supposed to see in this chicken. Why are we not seeing the same? Don't allow people to just come walk into your farm all willy-nilly. They want to, I want to see chicken. Kwanza this young age of, sisi TikTokers, tuko pali, selfie, chicken manenos, hashtag TG what, chicken or the egg which came first. You don't be too excited with your business venture to show off to the rest of the world, whereas unaibiwa. Nilikuwa ninaibiwa, but I was happy to take photos. Hey, look at me. Hey, chicken family, look at this jogo. And having puns and jokes all over about what I'm doing. Because I'm too excited, I'm not able to wait. This chicken look few. So you gotta be aware of that. If your employees, when they came, they didn't have even a phone, they used to do laundry for themselves. Suddenly, this guy is dialing a mogoka. Ako shambani kwako, mogoka ni 100 bob, na boda ni 100 bob. But the guy is able to afford to dial mtu wa mogoka from Kambe, from the local shopping center.
Not that you're paying them well.
And you know where money is coming from. There's a lady who would come and do laundry for them. Kitambo, they used to do laundry for themselves. Now, she comes and does laundry for them. If you go to a beer manufacturing company, after umetembea, si wanakusindikiza na ka 6-pack kapombe. Now when you come to my farm, na umefua nguo, si utasindikizwa na a care package.
Oh, yes.
Utasindikizwa na nini? Katreka mayai na uchinjiwe kakuku. For services rendered.
So you have to track the numbers that closely. You count to the chicken.
To the chicken, to the last kilo that you have. Lazima.
You track in kilos.
You have to. If you say you're doing 10 kilos a day, for example, 10 kilos a day, chakula chako, some of them will not smart you and they will reduce by, hata akiba kilo mbili hautajua. No, some of it you cannot be 100% sure, but for me it's the growth pattern, how are the chicken growing, how are they adding weight, na egg production kama inaenda chini. Those are some of the key indicators. And do random trips to the farm. Sometimes I go to the farm at midnight. Oh, when I was doing chicken farming, it's a full-time job.
You can't do farming as a side hustle. That's what you're saying.
Farming is not a side hustle. It's the main hustle. It's the main thing. Let's not be too casual with farming.
So there's no passive income in farming?
No. Why are you being passive about
Why are you busting my bubble?
About something that should make you good money? Why are you being passive about it? Who said that farming is the only place where you can nitaacha tu igro yenyewe? Ulisikia wapi? You have to be involved. That's why I say ukulima sio ushamba. You got to know your numbers. You got to know your plant population. If I told you 1 acre you have 11,000 heads of cabbages, do you have 11,000 heads of cabbages? What's the cost of production per cabbage? Can we go to the seed? Do you know if you buy a kilo of spinach seeds, 1 gram has about 60 to 40 seeds. You should know per gram. If you go for sukuma wiki, ranges about 250, 300 per gram of seeds. So you should know your plant population.
And if you do this right, the math is accurate.
It's going to work out. Of course, now there are the other things about the market and in the zozote, but then you must know how much pesticides did you use on your 1 acre. Because now what my guys were doing, I found them spraying and they were busy spraying and I was taking videos and photos of them spraying my sukuma wiki. Something told me, wewe, hebu nusa hiyo sukuma wiki. Walikuwa naimba uninyunyizia maji. They were spraying water. But you sent money for them to buy pesticides and foliar feeds. So you found them busy spraying your farm. So you wanted to see spraying going on. And you wanted to take a TikTok video of them spraying your farm. They will do that what you want.
So,
but hakuna dawa imewekwa kwa hiyo knapsack sprayer.
I understand the scam. So now, before we go to dragon fruit and your experience leasing land and the risks involved, right? You've been in this for 14 years, right?
13, this is the 14th year.
Yes, this is the 14th year. What has kept you there? And for myself, I quit after the first bad experience with watermelon. You see, I'm tempted to do chicken, but I'm being overtaken by time next month in December. I didn't do it, right? What kept you going? And Ama, you've never lost beyond the chicken.
I've lost so much that I think someone will think I'm cuckoos. No pun intended. What keeps me going is the realization that there must be a wrong you want to right. There must be a wrong you want to right. There must be a purpose you want to fulfill, even when man is not forthcoming. One of my many low moments is when I woke up one morning at around 3:30 going to 4 a.m. and I found a cat. I was doing brooding. I was brooding chicks, so I put them in a circular plywood thing. They put sawdust and heat, small babies to feed them, small chicks. I woke up and in my spirit, I knew there was something wrong going on at the brooder. So I went. I saw a cat sleeping. Kamekula vifaranga, kamelala. Kameshiba, the cat is actually dozing off. I've always hated cats, but this day, I loathed cats. I don't like seeing a cat anywhere near me. And you know what? The following week, I ordered for more chicks. I don't know why I'm still in farming. Ni kama mtu amechizi.
See, there is no high in terms of targets that you hit that you're like, you wanna, like betting, like you wanna do that again.
For me, let me tell you actually for me, what it has been, what has kept me going. I do a lot of consultancy. I go to people's farms. Like last week, last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was in Ngom, consulting for these clients of mine, I won't mention them. And what you see 10 minutes after you're talking to them, unaendelea tu kwa shamba from one step to the other, you see a lot of aha moments. Then they tell you, my goodness, you have made me see farming in a totally different way. You have saved us a lot of money. I live for that. That change I'm making, that wrong I'm righting, I live for that, not my bank account. Of course, I want my bank account to have money, to see confused. I'm a true son of Mount Kenya. But what makes my heart beat, what I long for, what I yearn for, is when people come to my farm for training. I will charge them a fee, definitely. I'm not doing it for free. But in the grand scheme of things, it's when I see them taking notes and someone saying, Mwalimu, ama Caleb, let me ask you a question. So umesema nisifanye kaika, aki ukijua ile pesa ningetumia kama ningenunua tanks, umenionyesha how to do a water pan, na niweke dam liner for 35K. I've done that on TikTok. People are like, wait, it cost you 55K, yes. Whereas if it were to do tanks, it would have cost you 1.1 million shillings. That aha moment is what keeps me going.
Okay.
It's purpose. So 13 years later, even when I was kicked out of our land in Mtwapa huko, I'm still doing it because there's something I want to change.
And I wanted to bring this up with you because when some people will not be interested in the conversation of farming because they don't have land.
Yeah.
But then there's the option of leasing land.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But you have a story to tell.
Yes. It's been quite a while since I've been leasing land. Just the other day, I got a few pieces here and there. But for the longest time, for more than a decade, I've been leasing land. To date, there's a piece of land I'm still leasing. And young people who are watching this, I want to encourage you, you don't have to have a title deed to be a farmer. Actually, even if you have savings, don't buy land first for production. Don't. An affordable piece of land, agricultural piece of land, you're looking at about 2-3 million shillings. Or even say 1 million shillings.
To buy. The least you can buy uko mashambani. I'm of the opinion, what if you took 10,000-20,000 shillings and lease 1 acre? 20K is even allowed. You can even get some for between 5,000 and 10,000 shillings a year. So why don't you have a 5-6 year lease term? All right, to cost you about 60,000-70,000 shillings for the whole 6 years. Do a semi-permanent structure. Kama ni ya nguruwe, ya kuku, whatever you want to do. Then all these savings you had or this bank loan you wanted to go and take to buy land, use it to produce. If it doesn't work, 5 years, lift your hands and go home. As opposed to spending 5 million shillings, then you don't have money to build in a chicken structure or in a pig structure. Now, you need to have a legally binding lease agreement. This is why I've gone wrong twice. You think I learned the first time. When you're leasing land is like a ratio, not a ratio, like a dowry negotiation. You don't go saying, oh, ni 100,000 shillings, shika. Mama, mpesa ninatuma kwa namba gani? No. It's a relationship you're getting into with this family. First things first, identify, are there males in this family? Will they want a claim of their father's land? Have they okayed? You are leasing,
not buying. Have they allowed? Are there any daughters? Would they want to, at some point, use this piece of land? Let them be in that conversation and let it be captured. You should need to have that, title deed. It's called, put a caveat. They cannot sell that land unless they compensate you for the lease period you've been there.
And compensation means if there are crops.
If there are crops, if there are animals, then you do a valuation and you say, you know what, I would have made X amount of money. Now that you're selling land, misina shida, but mrudishie pesa yangu. So you need a very, very good lawyer to do that for you.
So land has an allowance whereby you've not bought it, but you've leased it for this period of time.
Yes.
But you can have a caveat that they can't sell before that duration unless you get compensated.
Exactly. So all these, that's what I'm saying, it's a conversation you have with them. Like now, where I've been 13 years later, those structures, he's been a very, very good guy. I have a water pond. Nitamuachia your pond. Mizinga, niko na mizinga ya nyuki. I may carry 1 or 2 to go start my colony kwingine, but I have improved that piece of land. Right? So we decided, tuliongea before nianze kujenga, kamwambia, okay, I would want this piece of land, this is what I want to do, this and this I will do, but nikitoka nitakuachia.
Okay.
So every 5 years naambia, si uongeze, si uendelee, tukulima, ukichoka, you let me know. Now, not all landlords or tenants or whatever landowners will be that kind. So you got to capture everything. So don't do anything less than, say, 4 or 5 years of a lease period. Anything less than that, I wouldn't advise that.
So what happens in Mtwapa?
We didn't have a legally binding lease agreement. So long story short, disagreements arose, and then, not delve into details, we were kicked out because it was alleged sisi watu wa bara tumekuja kumiliki shamba, kunyang'anya mayatima mashamba. And that's how we got kicked out.
And your crops, you had crops?
We had crops, we had drip lines, we had sprinklers there, we had piping, kila mad uko. 6 acres, we were kicked out. I ran like a dog around 6-7 p.m. in shorts, sandals, and a vest.
But you had an agreement in place?
It was not written. There was nothing legally binding. It was not written. It was verbal.
Was it just people getting greedy? Oh, you told me you were given a deadline.
Yeah, get a deadline. No, the Limuru one was given 3 days to quit, to get out. Here, Mtwapa is go now. Go.
They don't care. They want.
Yeah, they don't care.
In Limuru, they gave you 3 days to harvest your crops.
To harvest your crops on 2.5 acres. So where do I take Masukumawiki and Managu and Terere on 2.5 acres? Again, I trusted this person because we used to go to the same church. Bwana asifiwe sana kanisa. So he told me the land is his. So when I started asking for the title deed so that we can register the title deed, stories ikaanza. So wakakosana na the person who had leased the land to him. But he had lied to me, the land is his. He owned the land. Because the guy was changing vehicles or willingly. So I thought he was a rich man. I trusted him.
So he leased the land and then leased it to you again?
Yes.
So in this case, you lose your crops and you lose the money because there is no...
And there was a bank loan actually. That's how I got into CRB. Full member huko, nilijipata full member huko. Because I couldn't service my loan. You lost everything. You took a loan based on, I'm importing drip kits from China. I will do 2.5 acres. I'm going to produce all this. I've shown the bank the numbers. The numbers make a lot of sense and I'll be able to pay for it. 3 months down the line, you've been kicked out of that piece of land. So what do? You're going to default because you don't have any other source of income to pay that loan.
This person looks like they are a person who, their problem was the person who leased the land to you.
Yes.
There was no room for negotiation between you and that person.
No. He was kicked out. Oh, and the land was put up for sale. Because they took photos of how the land was looking nice. I had made the land look very nice.
With your crops.
With my crops, so the land was sold. So you must have a legally binding lease agreement. Okay. This thing of shaking on it, having agreements mahali kwa bar, we kuja niko na kashamba eka moja, kuja utumia. No. Ulevi ikishuka, tuandikiane.
We have a guest coming after this episode. Anaitwa Kevit Desai. He was brilliant mind, among the first Kenyan scientists to actually interact with AI. And he was part of President Kibaki's creative team to come up with the Vision 2030. Very good in policy. He shared with us, ametuambia, that he told us that only 18% of land in Kenya is arable. Right? As in 18% is naturally arable, like unaweza lima bila mambo mingi, right? But we only use 9%. So I'm like, wow. That means there's so much potential, okay? So does this mean, I ask this because my question has always been, there's so much idle land. If you've flown across different parts of the country, unaonanga part unajiuliza, do we even have people here, right? Would you convert any land into agricultural land if you have manure? Let's say, for example, unataka kwenda Turkana, kuna jua, umefind a way ya kuweka maji huko, but you can have 100 acres. Useme, for someone like you maybe, useme, I want to go now to large scale farming. Because kuna kitu ulisema ya levels. Like we are too small to practice specialization. But is this an option? Like when a large scale, na useme, probably you're targeting a market outside the country.
It is an option, and large-scale farming or aggregating smallholder farmers is the way to go. Either you aggregate them into cooperatives, that's one way to go. Or if you want to go it alone, go large scale. But now, here's the elephant in the room, or the elephant in the farm. Cost of credit. All right? I go to get a bank loan, they will charge me between 18 and 20%.
22 now.
22%. Even negotiate, you're saying you're getting at 20%. The cost of credit in Kenya is so high that, and you're getting into a business that you're not in charge of. So many things, vagaries of weather. There could be a drought, there could be, flooding. So many things that you're not in charge of, but yet took a loan at 20%. Now, I'm not saying don't do that, but there's so many things that are up against you that going large scale with your own savings doesn't make sense. So that's why we go for credit. If you go to the US or go to Brazil or to other countries, they're getting their credit, their loans at way cheaper rate. If it's a mortgage, they're getting at 4 or 5%. All right? So how come we cannot do that here in Kenya? We say we have a farmers bank, and they say they are there, but we have to see the impact. And we say, Kingori and Caleb have got into this partnership where they're going to do 1,000 acres of maize or wheat or whatever for local and export production. But they need $20,000 million. At what rate of interest are you giving them? Is there a moratorium where you say, for the first 3 months, they will not pay because they're producing? So if I plant wheat, it's going to take me 3 months. Why do you want me to pay you the following month? I haven't sold anything.
Yes,
so
yes.
Nitakulipa. Okay? So we must find innovative ways, and that's a key word, innovative ways of funding agriculture. They tried, tested, and found wanting model of asking me for collateral, a title deed or a logbook doesn't cut anymore. Can my milk production records, my existing milk production records, or my egg collection records warrant as collateral? Can you loan me money based on the strength of my records and my projections? Can you advance me a loan at an affordable rate that makes sense for everybody? Because cost of production is going up on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. But the interest rate is capped at this. But the production cost is going up every day.
If the factors that you're not in control of are in your favor, and let me do basic mathematics. You invest in an acre of land, you've borrowed the money, and let's say the weather is on your side, you follow all the procedure. Can farming pay back the loan and pay you well?
Yes, it can, and it actually does that. But I'll go back to, if you're specializing, you're risking it. As a smallholder farmer. If you're going large scale, then you're in the green. If you've understood your market, then it will make business sense. If you have learned how to reduce your cost of production, if you're not depending on rain-fed agriculture, then it makes sense. Because we make most money when it's sunny, yeah?
We make most money when?
Mimi mtu wa managu sukuma wiki. I make most money January, February, and March. I don't make money April, May.
Oh, you've studied the patterns of making money.
Because kukinyesha, what happens? Managu, terere, shibebe, mishibebe, hii yote inaanza kujaminate. Because these are wild indigenous seeds.
Yes.
They are growing all over. So people have a lot of managu and terere growing wildly. Jaribu kupeleka kabeji yako sasa hiyo sokoni.
Which begs the question, does it mean the strategy is probably get land in a place where rainfall is unpredictable, in a place like Ukambani?
Yes.
It's better than ati sisi tuko na ushago, you go farm there just because you have a farm.
Because all of you are depending on rain. But the guy who is sinking a borehole or has a river frontage and is pumping water, he's selling in and out of season. Doesn't care whether it's raining or not. The guy's in production. But most farmers are waiting for the long rains or the short rains. But then there's a farmer who's producing all year round. The two of you are not the same.
So if you, let's say for example, do feasibility studies and go to a place where probably people don't look at farming as farming per se, right? Ujaribu hiyo kitu ya first mover advantage.
You see, if I had money, I would go to Lodwar, Turkana, those dry areas. I would sink a borehole. I would do 50, 20 acres of fruit farming.
Fruit?
Yes. And I would do drip irrigation. Nipande purpose. I hate purpose. The passion. But I love passion. You got it. I would plant purpose. because they'll do very well there. Because I'm not depending on the rains. And they'll do very well in those hot regions. It's about time we start looking at these non-food producing counties. How can we bring them to the food producing matrix, in the food producing basket? They're not a basket case. They have something that they can provide. Look at mangrove honey in the coast. Yes, you say coast water, we cannot use the ocean water, is salty. But mangrove trees are surviving there. So are we not producing mangrove honey? Because bees will only go to the mangrove trees and make mangrove honey.
Now, which begs the question, in your experience, if you did a collab with, say, 10 farmers at your level, mseme tunaenda lodwa, ama we are going to revolutionize food in this economy, mkwe na purpose, seme kama 20, you could even get 50 acres, right? Kila mtu aseme, utashikilia 10. Like, take your 10, I take my 10, and then we have a system. Will that work?
It would only work. Let me drop you a gem. We do not have, and I'll get into trouble, we do not have a production problem in Kenya. We have a logistical problem. We don't lack the how to plant purpose, the how to plant maize. How to plant tomatoes? A 2-year-old kid will know that. The logistics, the value addition, that's where the problem is. So those 10 farmers you're talking about, tupate 100 acres, na tuchimbe maboreholes, na tufanye drip irrigation, the problem will not be how to plant purpose. The problem will be after tumeharvest tunapeleka hizo popo wapi. So are we doing value addition of this purpose? To popo wine, to popo juice, to popo, what are we doing after all this massive production?
And
that's where the challenge is.
This in the era of GMO, isn't organic farmers like yourself, isn't it a ripe opportunity for organic farmers? Like if you can verify, because we did an episode the other day where our guest, who's the Chief Officer for Environment Nairobi, Mr. Geoffrey Mosiria, said that hii mboga yenye unasema watu wanakula huku ni takataka. Like it's actually...
I agree. Now, let me bring another, throw a spanner in the works. I'm actually I'm not concerned more about GMO crops than I am concerned about how we are producing our foods and how we are handling the food. Let me repeat. We are worried about a genetically modified maize, and we should worry about it. But I'm more concerned about how farmers are spraying weed killers to dry onions. Ndio soko kitunguu ifike ikauke haraka, iisha maji, iende sokoni in good time. I'm more concerned about those farmers who are spraying their manago, their tomatoes, their cabbages with harmful pesticides. 3 days later, amepeleka yomboga sokoni. I am more concerned about how we are handling food, not GMO. Okay. And GMO is a story for another day. Please, I told you have to understand where Caleb is coming from. Otherwise, you get it twisted. It's not that I'm not concerned about GMO. I'm more concerned about how we are handling the food. So let's say even this msheveve, this managu we are growing by the sewer line, it's GMO. Na tunyunyizia maji vizuri. But how are we handling this food? Did we wash it with the same river water that has led a lot of e-waste, electronic waste is going into our riverbeds, into our water system? Then unapata mtu anaosha hizo masukuma wiki pale. But it's not GMO, it is organic, but imeoshwa na hiyo maji ya uchafu. Then imeenda kuja kuuzwa hapa hivi.
So it's your submission that shida yetu sio food.
No.
Kenya should actually be food secure.
Africa, let me tell you, globally, 60% of the world's arable land is in Africa. 60%
of the world's
arable shamba inaweza limwa, it's in Africa. Yet, Africa imports $30 billion worth of food every year. We import what we don't need and export what we need.
So if we import that much, does it mean that even if we produce as we want, we have nowhere to export, because out there where we are taking it is where we are getting
what
the
are
food
we exporting? From? French beans. When's the last time you ate French beans?
That's where you come with ile storia. Before you produce something, make sure there is a consumption culture.
Exactly. So what wamelima 10-20 acres of French beans?
Please, being unique does not pay.
You can be unique. Problem is, people are copying that unique person. And all of you want to be export producers and exporters of French beans. You say, mimi mishiri yangu, my French beans, zote mi export. But Mama Mboga there doesn't have misheveve, doesn't have managu, doesn't have terere. Why? It's not sexy enough to do managu farming. It's not cool enough to do malenge farming. So we are exporting what we are not consuming locally. Then you're importing apples. You're importing apples. You're importing grapes. Na ndizi mumeshindwa kupanda.
The grapes we eat are not locally nini?
Some are, majority are not. So it's a free market, okay? Import what you want, export whatever you want. But I'm speaking to beginners, newbie farmers. Don't be moved by people telling you you'll be exporting herbs, you'll be exporting to French beans. Kwanza tafuta soko locally, kwanza. Get a strong footing. Then when you go through a learning curve, then you can say, okay, I've done this for 5 years. Now I think I can export. And by all means, export. You make your most money there.
And what's the truth in plants? Now as we go into dragon fruits, before tufunge, what's the truth about plants that ati mtu akisikia tu uko nayo? This, as in, when the aroma breaks, ati zako zimeiva, they come for it in the farm.
You know, there are farmers, for lack of a better word, let me call them farmers, who have learned that if you want to sell a seedling, hype it. Chapa bay, not less than 1,000 shillings. So create a demand, create a vacuum actually. Create nikidogo sana, supply, reduce the supply. Sema, there's a 3-month booking line. You pata this particular plant. Then take a few photos of you in Zimbabwe, Zambia, whatever, a few countries, you giving talks about this particular plant. How there's high demand. Take a photo or photos with a few government officials here and there, an MCA here, EV, you know, how you're bringing communities together to plant this particular crop. All nice and dandy. Go ahead and do that. But my concern is, do we have a consuming culture for that particular fruit? So you've hyped the health benefits, and probably the benefits exist. Probably. It means the word probably they exist. So people have bought into that hype. People have bought into the hype of this one plant will give me 20 fruits, and a fruit is 1,000 shillings. So I'll make 20,000 shillings per fruit. So I'll have 1,000 fruits. So how much money will I be making per month or per season? That's the numbers people are doing. But no one has been doing it for 5-10 years to tell us these are the trends. This is the forecasting I'm seeing. This guy thrives on selling the seedling. Hence, I will tell you, he who controls the seed controls the market.
He who controls the seed controls the market.
Yes.
So what's the hope for the... Because unajua, one of our guests said something very controversial on this show. This country, the business environment is so hostile that 2 million shillings right now cannot give you 50,000 shillings net per month. Okay, it's a very controversial conversation. Like, and when you think about it, I've seen very many people arguing differently, but there's only one. I think one person said, in fact, no business can give you this except agribusiness. Na kwa hiyo agribusiness, unasema bado si sure bet.
Si sure bet. And why is everybody telling us that farming is sexy, farming is cool? Why can't we say being a mortuary attendant is cool, being a policeman is cool? How come everybody comes to farming? Mnakujanga kusema how easy it is. No, it's hard work. Real farmers, not influencers. Real farmers will tell you, real farming is hard work. So everybody saying, no, only in farming. By the farming, ukiokelea tu mita yako moja, hata utashinda pale. Ulisikia wapi? It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of math that you have to get into, and a lot of prayers. So let's not start making agriculture look like it's like a last resort kind of thing, where you hide your money, where you clean your money, where you do all that. Those of us who are in it, know it's not as easy as people would want you to believe. It's not an escape when other things have failed that farming is the panacea of all our problems as a continent or as a country. How come we're not getting into value addition as a country? We're not looking at industries in the agriculture sector. We're just being told, produce, produce, produce. There will be fertilizer. Every minister who comes is always talking about subsidies of fertilizers and seeds. Tutashita tukikula mahindi, we shall be doing maize politics and sugarcane politics, coffee and tea until when? Since I became
maize
a farmer,
politics and sugar politics.
It's the same
Why do you
thing.
call it politics?
Politics because some things, and I will get into trouble, some of these things farmers are being told to do, they're to keep you going, they're to keep the masses working. Sugarcane farming, we'll come and we'll revive this sugar. How come every sugar industry, every sector, every factory is being revived every financial year? Every president who comes is always reviving a particular industry. We are going to boost. Why are you boosting something that is not working? So someone didn't make it work. Someone stole money. Let's start from there. Why are you putting good money into bad money? Why are you robbing Peter to pay Paul? Since Kibaki days, since I was a journalist, Kibaki days, there was always the revival of Mumias, the revival of what, pumping money into it. No one does an audit and says, this year, let's not revive it. Let's do an audit. Where are we going wrong? Is the farmer the problem? Is it the transporter the problem? Is it the factory? Is it our production capacity? Is it our volumes that we are doing? Is it our variety of sugarcane that we have in the country that doesn't make business sense? So it's politics to keep the masses going, to say we have allocated X amount of money to these sectors, to coffee, to tea, to sugar, and to maize. How come there's no revival of the chicken industry or the pig industry? How come we are not saying the problem is not even, don't even tell us guaranteed minimum returns if you do not work on our production cost. So tell us, farmers, we're encouraging you to plant cassavas, especially those in dry areas, because cassava will be used as a source of raw material for all livestock feeds. So we stop importing starches, akina maize and what have you. Tutatumia mihogo kutoka Kenya, kutoka mambo ya pwani. That's where we are going to get our source of raw materials from. So we've started to reduce our cost of production. So imagine having a factory in Kwale, a factory in Malindi, a factory in, Kikambala, all right? You are spurring economic growth. Young people will be working in those factories to process the cassava flour into animal feeds and into feed for human consumption. I've just talked about cassava. I didn't say maize. I didn't say maize. Tuangalie tujiulize, this sugarcane you have under 1 acre, you're going to harvest it after 1.5 years. Should you plant sugarcane and wait for 1.5 years, or should you plant other things that will give you better money or more money? I'm just saying, it can get very controversial, but some of these things are to keep the masses going. Kuzunguka to keep the electorate thinking that, sisi waheshimiwa, we have come to save you, we've come to revive your sugar industry. If you really wanted to help farmers, if you had the heart of farmers, you would go to the bottom of their issue. Is their issue market price or is the issue production? Okay.
Did you struggle with and this goes out to someone who probably is in one line of business or one in a certain job, and they want to switch to farming. Did you struggle with the switch? How possible is it, and what should someone prepare for?
My switch from journalism to farming wasn't difficult because I've always loved farming. I'm a typical village boy. But I found people who want to switch because of circumstances. Because you've lost a job, because COVID has come and it's now forcing you to go to the farm. The switch is a bit difficult because you're not used to it and it's only human. One will beat you because of that. So I would say if you're thinking of switching or having farming as a side hustle, start talking to farmers mapema. Get into their lives, spend a day with them, different farmers, and start to look at the politics of whatever they are doing, the policies that affect whatever they are producing. So for me, it was a bit easy. It was just like, say, going from one into the other. It wasn't difficult, but it's also learning and relearning. And learning, relearning, a lot of learning goes on that you're like, I thought this was the path I should take, but it's not. Someone else's success is not going to be my success. Just because you made a lot of money in watermelon farming doesn't mean I'll make a lot of money in watermelon farming. Probably should become an agronomist or a vet We are struggling with vets, credible vets to come and check on our goats. There's a big problem there.
You're struggling with vets.
Yes. You call a vet, umwambie ni mbuzi, he will not come, or he'll come 2-3 days later. Kisikia ni ng'ombe, he'll be next to you.
Unatibu mbuzi kwa nini? Si mbuzi ni nyama.
Let me tell you, goats actually get affected more than even the cows. Now, it looks like it's a small animal. Why are you crying over a small animal? But mind you, this goat is giving me 2 liters. A liter is 200 bob. So I'm making 400 bob from one goat. If you don't come, I will lose 400 bob every day. I was hoping to nipatia key twins. If you don't come when I've called you as my vet, I will lose twins.
No, you can manipulate how many kids.
No, you can't. But some of them have a twinning ability or twinning history. All right, so you cannot manipulate that. But chances are very high it might give you twins. I was just giving that as an example.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there's a gap in terms of, say, roaming vets
Yes.
vets on call who they know in this area, area. But we are hoping that government vets ndio watakuja come through for you. You have to pay a premium for them.
My friend Joy Nore runs the Nairobi IVF clinic. He has a brilliant idea. Yes. I don't know kama ameshago public now, where they can convert your ushago cow into a grade cow. Like unaona ile ng'ombe ya ushago, they come do IVF fertilization ya ile ng'ombe ya grade. So you don't have to sijui adaptation mingi sana, but it produces milk like a grade cow na inaweza endelea kukula. I hope you may get your concept.
My word is not even that. And it's a brilliant thing they're doing. I was in Brazil 2 months ago. There's this farmer who has 300 cows. Do you know what he started by? He started with producing fodder. For 3 years, he didn't have a single cow.
He was just producing.
He was just producing and attained the silage. And for 3 whole years. If you've seen my TikTok, there's a video I did. He has like about 12 feet high, if not more, because I'm 6 feet, 6'6", more than 9 feet tall, and the length you can do 2 tippers. Unajua zile tippers za kuja hivi, like 3 of them zinaweza panga line hivi. Zimejaa silage. 3 of them in one little farm of about 200 acres. Alitengeneza silage kwanza for 3 years. So kuleta ng'ombe, they have something to eat. Like I'm saying, the issue passes not even the genetics, and genetics plays a very key role. But kiangazi kikikuja, when there's a drought, what will your animals eat? Do you have a fodder program? How is your protein? What's your protein source when it's dry? That's my main concern. Why are we not teaching our farmers how to produce fodder for a year or 2 years in advance? We are thinking of how to reduce the cost of dairy meal. That's just one little aspect
in which case,
production.
Thank you for that submission. Ebu criticized this idea in terms of value addition. I think I like that idea of thinking ahead. If I do a farm and my target is value, I don't know kama this is value addition. I start a restaurant, right? Or I target a restaurant where they can get, I start a restaurant, but all the food is from my farm. Is that a good business model?
That's what I'm doing already. In my restaurant, Coffee 254, all the vegetables are from my farm.
And there's a difference between producing the vegetables for your restaurant versus producing vegetables to sell directly to the market.
No, they're the same. Let me tell you, that's why mama mbogas don't like me a lot. Because if I tell you this vegetable will be harvested after 10 days, you will have to wait for 10 days. I follow the PHI, the post-harvest interval. Because the same vegetable I will eat is the same vegetable my clients are going to eat at my restaurant. Okay? So I don't have a small section for my consumption, another section for other people.
I've had most farmers do that.
I don't do that. What you see, what you eat is what I'm going to eat. So yes, since not all farmers may be able to have that end-to-end kind of production that you're producing and then you have a restaurant, I would suggest actually, before you even start producing, why don't you go to restaurants and ask what are their needs? So buy, aggregate, and then supply it to other restaurants. You do not have to farm the managu yourself. So talking to young people who you're thinking, I need to produce, I need to go have a farm, produce. No, you don't have to produce. Look at opportunities that are there in the value chain.
opportunities in the value
in
chain.
the value chain.
So first understand what's the value chain.
Exactly.
Number two, what are the opportunities that you can plug on?
Yes.
Get the market first.
Yes. I wouldn't advise a young person to get into dairy farming, to farm 1 or 2 cows. But I can tell them, buy milk, go tengeneza mala na yogurt. Tafuta mahali kuna mechanics. Nimeshinda hapa Dagoretti Corner, kuna mechanics wengi sana hapo hivyo. There's no milk bar. I was looking for a milk bar. Na naweza kaa chini nikunywa mala ya 30 bob na kamandazi. Sikupata Dagoretti Corner, lesi kuzunguka yote hapa Dago. I was looking for that, a milk bar that jamaa amekuja na mango zake za mechanic. Ako na ka 50 bob, nimuzie mala ya 30 na kadonut ama kachapo 50 bob. Sijasema yogurt, nimesema tu mala.
I understand. Yeah. Na in your experience, kwa mala ya 30 bob, farmer anafaa kukula how much?
Now, that's where it gets interesting. The value adder, the guy doing value addition makes more money than the farmer.
That's given.
That's given. So that's what I'm saying. As a farmer, jiulize, do you want to be on that end of the value chain as a producer? Or do you want to produce, yes, and do a little bit of value addition? Or, na tuache ubinafsi, why are we all producing? Tushikane. We are neighbors. You have your 50 acres, 50 liters, I have my 10. Tushikane, all of us, we have one processing thing, I mean, cooler and chiller. We sell our milk as aka villagers, waze 10 tushikane. Tutafute soko pamoja. Tutengeze mala, tutafute soko pamoja. With my 10 liters, my 20 liters. So tuko na shares, kila mtu ako na shares. But every farmer wants to go it alone. And I know group dynamics, trust me, I know. But if there are farmers here who are listening, mshikane kama group, produce as a group, value as a group, market as a group.
Okay. Aya, ukiangalia kwa description ya hii video, you've had Caleb Karuga is a consultant wa farming, wa agriculture, basically, na agribusiness. So kwa description ya hii video, you'll find contacts on how to reach Caleb for his consultancy services. I trust that you've loved chenye umeona. Caleb, I'm so glad you agreed to come on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Asante sana. Na tumeguzia dragon fruit, but tumeipitia kwa bypass, ndio?
Because it's political, people will come at me.
Ni moto sana.
Moto hiyo.
But wenye wanajua, wenye wamewatch. This is one of the conversations to negotiate sana, and I understand where you're coming from. Na reservations za talking publicly about agribusiness. I trust that information yenye umeshare na sisi will be valuable to our audience.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I was looking forward to coming with one of my mentees, but she couldn't make it to come.
Yes.
Then I'll be pushing mentees. I have a lot of mentees that I want to give the limelight. I want them to be the ones sitting here and telling their own story.
That's very selfless of you.
That's why I didn't want to come.
But
I didn't want to come because I wanted someone else to be here. But when she couldn't make it, I said, okay, let me come. But other people who want, just let's interview other young farmers. They have a story to tell. Let's hear their mistakes, their what are they seeing also. Si tumezeeka sasa. Tumezeeka, wacha tusikie
na nimesahau.
Uliza.
My friend Harrison Mareka would be mad at me if I didn't ask you this. He's toying with the idea of farming in Zambia.
I've had such ideas also, but not in Zambia. Aende sokoni kwanza. Aende huko kwanza. Just because the cost of production is cheap or easy, doesn't mean you go and do it there. So if he's going to do it large scale, sawa. If he's going to do beef cattle farming, aende. I would go to Botswana, by the way.
Oh, really?
Botswana or Namibia. There's a desert called Okavango Desert. I was there in Namibia. Brilliant. Nice place. They have these Brahman cattle, beef. Huge. Nyama. I did a story when I was a journalist back in the day. I would do that. If it's beef cattle for export. So uwezi enda Zimbabwe, Zambia, whatever, then uzia mama mboga wa Zambia. So uko naenda large scale.
So those are opportunities people should open their minds to.
Namibia we went to one of the tanneries. They have more cattle than people in Namibia. Oh yes, Namibia is a country of about 3 million people, 2.83 million people. But they are bigger, they're the largest exporters of hides and skin compared to Kenya. Wametushinda na mbali sana.
And the meat is healthy.
Very good meat.
So if I opened a butchery na niambie wadau, hii imetoka Namibia.
Mfuko yetu ita afford kununua hiyo kutoka Namibia. That's the problem again. So
wale watu wanataka healthy living ya ukweli.
It's a small population. Go there, do mass production of beef cattle and export.
Ama nikuje na za dowry.
There is that.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.